Looks like you brought a friend today, huh?
Yes, this is like Yuki. You know, she's the best nose in the lab. So I love watching her to learn a little bit from that super nose.
And she smells good.
Yeah, bon, you know, with all this hair, she can carry fragrances very, very well. Like hair and clothing actually holds fragrances much better than your skin. So yeah, I fragrance her regularly.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Christophe is a master perfumer. He used to work at IFF and has created some of the world's most iconic fragrances. So one of the things I think that have been really interesting, Christophe, is some of the fragrances or scents that are being made to make people spend more money or feel more comfortable. I mean, the casinos invented this. They came up with scents that they felt would make people feel more comfortable, spend more time there, spend more money and the like. And then department stores have taken this on, and I know Hugo Boss has an amazing scent when you walk in their stores. I'm not even sure they sell that fragrance. So there's a lot of thought put into fragrances and how they affect the psyche. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say it's just like what you would do for the eyes. You make sure that the store looks good, and you know very well that the way something looks, you make people feel in a certain way. It's also an appreciation of the quality of the place. Well, the nose is as important as your eyes for the brain, and these are the scientific studies that are more and more frequent about the sense of smell, because it's a very, very difficult sense to study, much more difficult than the eyes. So the scientists, they kept that for the end, and the end is in now actually. So it's really, really exciting. So if you're a marketing manager, if you're a brand manager, if you're a hotel director, you should do, first of all, the olfactory audit of your hotel. For instance, you would walk around and look if everything is well placed. You would look around if the curtains look perfect. And same, walk around and see the smell of your place, and you're going to see right away, if you didn't take that into account, you're going to see right away that a lot of places don't smell right at all.
So you call that an olfactory audit?
Yes, just walk around. If you have a store, same. Be a consumer and go around and pay attention to the smell. And of course, people are not going to do that in the store, just like some people don't even notice the image you have in that store. But it influences, and the brain assimilates that information.
An interesting book I read a long time ago was Perfume, where the essence of the book was they could take smells and actually create those smells, and including smells of people, and if they were pleasant people, they could replicate that smell. I saw a interview with you by the New York Times, I think it was, that you went forward and replicated all these different fragrances, for lack of a better term, from that book. So it sort of does go to that type of discussion where you can actually take scents and potentially recreate them.
Yes. So we do this quite a bit in the industry. Usually we take things a bit more expected, like flower, or we can take the smell of a temple. One day I did the analysis of a giraffe. Without touching the giraffe, we have devices that suck the air coming from an object or from a place and analyzes that air.
Did that sell well?
And no, I didn't put it in a smell. People, same, it's another thing. We should have many more interesting concepts like that.
We have I guess, a debate on naturals. Mm-hmm. So to some extent, so a lot of these futuristic notes will not probably be natural notes. They'll be much more synthetic notes.
So yes and no. It's like if you do a very modern building, you might still use in certain places in a certain way a piece of wood that has been worked in a brand new way, or as a structure in a certain art installation. Even if it's a futuristic art installation, you may have certain traditional materials being used just to hold the structure. And there are also some natural ingredients that smell really futuristic. I'll name a few. Chamomile blue, not normal chamomile, not the one you drink. It's called chamomile blue, also called German chamomile. It's actually blue in color. It smells very, very rubbery, actually very plasticky. You have another note from Vietnam. It's called polygonum. It's like a piece of metal under your teeth. So with that, you could do brand new styles of freshness without your teeth going like, but there are
touches,
some naturals. Yeah. And I have to say, in perfumery, we use about 200 to 300 different species of naturals. How many are out there? Like millions and millions of plants. We have only scratched the surface because we spend a lot of time finding a new patchouli and a new rose, and And I love patchouli, I love rose, but there are millions of other plants, and I'm sure that there are many, many others that we have not even looked at or extracted.
The number one question I always get is, what's the difference between a $50 perfume and a $200 perfume? And I always ask perfumers and people in the industry what their opinion is. What would you say is your answer to that?
My answer is to say there is often a big disconnect between what's inside the bottle and the price of the bottle. So it's very, very confusing to the people. I would say even more than in wine. And I'll give just a simple example. When I see a bottle of a Hermes fragrance, like a Terre d'Hermès, or like that is in the $60 for a bottle, and then I see some niche brands that are in the $200 bottle, yet the juice of the niche brand is totally not better than the juice of Hermes. It's just because it's a niche brand. So it's, I have to say, it's very confusing. And if you're not an expert, a connoisseur, a perfumer, it would be hard for someone to evaluate all the quality and to see what is so special in the $200, or the $200 is actually nothing special. And the reverse, when you're at Sephora and then you look at all these $60 perfumes, some are really wishy-washy perfumes, some are like soups, we call them soups. And then you do have quite a number that are excellent perfumes.
How do you think the fragrance industry has changed, and where do you see it going in the future?
So I think, first of all, there is a big disconnect between the inventions or the discoveries that are made for the ingredients that are as high or as developed as what you find in the pharmaceutical industry. In natural ingredient extractions, like going into some forests in Madagascar and Brazil, analyzing orchids and all that kind of stuff. We are very advanced with these kind of techniques, extracting citrus notes in a very, very fresh way. So this we've seen new ways in the past, I would say 10, 20 years. However, for the consumer side, I find it very, very, very traditional. And we haven't gone through the revolution that you see in the tech industry or in the biology industry. And I'm very optimistic that we're like here, and we have this whole curve to do. We see some premises. One premise for me is the explosion of the variety of ingredients, which then you see in a lot of different niche fragrances. We have more and more small brands. Like now we cannot keep up with everything that comes on the market as a perfumer, but I would say just like a musician cannot keep up with all the new songs that come on the market. So with this, we have more and more variety. I think the industry with the future will go more and more into futuristic fragrances, and what I call also into horror movie of perfumery. If you notice, everything is pretty flowers, the barbershop, amber, vanilla. This is what we have in perfumery. You don't have the gothic style. We start to have it a little bit. And then you certainly don't have the futuristic style. So a fragrance that is not reminding you of your grandmother, a fragrance that is not reminding you of anything, on the contrary, that opens you up to some, I don't know, whatever. And this, I think, should develop some very abstract fragrances that is not about jasmine and patchouli. And I love jasmine and patchouli, but so this, I think, is going to develop more and more. And then,
well, what would be a goth fragrance? I can't even imagine, you know.
Well, you know, you can have, no, but it's the smell, but also, like, for instance, in the zoo.
What a vampire smells like? I mean.
Yeah, but why not? First of all, you can do a lot of things with animalic notes. I mean, notes that smell animalic. You don't have to kill animals to recreate the smell of animals, but certainly, or very, very dark fragrances. So like in the zoo, I made a fragrance here, the No Perfume, that is a fragrance that does not smell like a fragrance. So it's only very leathery, very dark wood, and very smoky. Basta, that's it. And so it is not so round, but it's not the point. So that could be actually a very gothic fragrance.
Yeah, you're right. A tobacco or something.
Or a tobacco, but tobacco already has a sweetness. So it should be like maybe a rough tobacco, but with clashing with another interesting notes. And or a fragrance that, for instance, the kids would wear to annoy the parents. This is my dream. I want a fragrance that the parents say, are you still wearing this? And then they say, yes, and here, I put 3 times more. So you see this kind of play. We don't have, like you put the hard rock music blasting it from your bedroom, and then your parents cannot listen to that because they're classical music lovers. So this kind of thing we don't see in fragrances yet.
One of the things I've heard you speak on before, and I know this is an important issue to you, is where the fragrance industry sits in the fashion industry. Maybe you could speak to our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first of all, I'll say how they see us. If you listen to Shark Tank themselves, and they explain how a fragrance is mostly a merchandising piece, and how the fragrance industry is actually a cash cow for the fashion designers. And this is also explained in all the fashion books. So I want to reverse that. The olfactory is as important as the eyes for the brain, and there should be an olfactory art by itself. And we should use fashion, we should have fashion as also being an accessory for perfumery. So we should stand by our own. So for instance, we should have perfume shows where there are different ways of, to an audience sitting in a room, we could have exciting way to have perfumes circulating through the audience, built or sprayed on models with drones, and so we should create something like that as an industry.
Well, I really appreciate you taking time for me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Fashion Counsel.